clicking. We all know what that means. Yes, folks, it's almost 11 o'clock. That means it's time for your favorite show and mine, Countdown to Armageddon. And this is your host, Publius. Today, Publius is bothered. Why is Publius bothered? Because you all have heard me talk about the possibility of a civil war. And I know that this is a possibility, and it's becoming a stronger possibility with each day. But one of the ways that we could possibly end up in a civil war is a race war. The Biden administration has already started saying that they are going to go out of their way to work with less advantaged minorities. They're basically going to start putting a priority on people of the less dominant. This is all fancy word for saying that blacks and minorities will get preference over whites. This is all part and parcel for the way the left's attitude has been growing over the last 16, 20 years. What's happened over the course of the last 20 years is, instead of having and rejoicing at the different cultures we all share or don't share, we've started making one culture evil. Now, I can remember back in the days when Publius was in college, I ran up against a professor who had the same worldview as what is becoming more prevalent. She was a history teacher, and the way she taught her course, if you wanted to make an A, it was real easy. All you did was take any question she asked on a test and answer it in the way that white males were evil. If you did this, you made an A. Well, what we see now is society seems to be saying just that. Anything of whiteness is wrong. Anything, especially white male, is wrong. There seems to be a war on being white. Now, this is kind of surprising to me, and it actually seems to be, well, you go back to Dr. Martin Luther King. When Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. delivered his famous speech that he had a dream, what his dream was that people would be judged not by the color of their skin, but by their character. Today's society says, no, we're going to judge you first and foremost by the color of your skin. That if you are white, you're wrong. If you are black or brown, you're right. That should be an automatic understanding in any situation. We see this with BLM and with some of the victims that they claim to be supporting. Now, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't believe BLM gives a damn about black people. They just give a damn about trying to get power. Why? Because if they cared about black people, they wouldn't be throwing riots in black communities. You do not help yourself by burning down your community. I remember reading back during the Obama administration when there was a riot in Baltimore. CVS had opened up a pharmacy in the black neighborhood, and it was the only pharmacy in that region, in that area of town. It got destroyed, and CVS said, no, we're not reopening. This does not help you. If you're out there thinking about throwing a riot and you're going to destroy your property in your own neighborhood, you're an idiot. You're not helping yourselves. You're not helping anyone. As with the example of the CVS pharmacy, and I could be wrong, it may not have been CVS. Who opened the pharmacy is irrelevant. The point is, they had no place to get their medication anymore without leaving their own section of town. Now, I want you to imagine that. I want you to think about that for a moment. Where I live right now, about equal distance from me, depending on which way I want to go, I have a choice. I have a Walgreens and I have a CVS. I can go to either one of them, and I'm not talking a mile away. I mean, the idea to me of only having one in an extended area, like in this entire section of town, is mind-boggling to begin with. And why is there only one in the area? Because the previous riot took out the others. What we see here when you look at areas like Baltimore is riots after riots after riots. And what causes these riots? Sometimes, okay, I'll be flat out honest, sometimes they're right. Something is dead wrong. And that, in my opinion, deserves taking to the streets and protesting, but not rioting. Because when you riot, you're only hurting yourself. Now, why is Publius all wound up about race today? The reason why Publius is all bound up on race is several stories have come out in the last week about this new drive to push, quote, anti-racism, and yet, when you look at it, it's all racism. Let's take a look. Okay, I'm going to pull up one article here. This is from, let me go to the top. The Washington Examiner states, exclusive, divisive and offensive race theory training forced on San Diego County health workers. Government employees in San Diego County are being forced to undergo lectures that claim only white people can be racists, according to employees who say the training is taking away from their efforts to battle COVID and the homelessness epidemic. Instead of doing their jobs and helping people, these people are being put in classes that teach that only people that can be racist are white people. Now, I've heard this argument many times. Now, that the idea of the Health and Human Services is requiring people to go through these mandatory classes on diversity and are pushing an entirely new definition of racism at the same time is no longer surprising, Mr. Publius. This is all part of this critical race theory that has come out over the last 20 years that sees everything through a racist lens, a racial lens. All of history is an exercise in one group being racist over another. And I don't see history that way. But this is the new push. Everything is racism, racism, racism. If we go to another story, and this is the one that's really made headlines this last week, Coca-Cola confirms training employees to be, quote, less white. The idea that you're having classes that tell people that, number one, let's take a look at some of the slides that are being pushed on these people. Confronting racism means understanding what it means to be white and challenging what it means to be racist. Alright, what does it mean to be white? Well, it means that your skin is lighter than somebody else's. Challenging what it means to be racist. A racist is a racist. It's when you judge somebody by the color of their skin. But this program goes on and says, to be less white is to be less oppressive, be less arrogant, be less certain, be less defensive, be less ignorant, be more humble, listen, believe, break with apathy, break with white solidarity. I'm going to stop for a second. Thank you. Sorry, my technical support is not working with me too well today. Don't go on. The very idea that you're saying to be less white is to be less oppressive is by definition stating that to be regular white is to be oppressive. That is a racist statement. What we have in this class is a racist is telling people that whites are racist. Now this seems to be a very prominent theme in today's society, that white equals racism. This is the most twisted, blatantly racist phrase I've ever heard. You are judging someone solely on the color of their skin. But society likes doing that now. Everything white is again seen as evil. Let's go ahead and look at some of the other slides. In the U.S. and other Western nations, white people are socialized to feel that they are inherently superior because they are white. Research shows that by the age of 3 to 4, children understand that it's better to be white. I'm sorry, I don't buy this crap. You may have had to. You find 2 or 3 researchers that can come up with a view that tries to show you that it's better to be white. Well, there's enough research out there that shows you that kids tend to look at people based on what they're used to. You can research and find a group, somebody that'll say something that you agree with easily. And the bottom line, the point of all these slides is Coca-Cola is telling their employees, try to be less white. Be less white. And I'm sorry, folks. If you don't understand this, I'll put it in simple language. Anytime you want to find out if something is racist, imagine the same sentence but with a different race in it. For example, if you were to say black people are loud, would it be racist if you said white people are loud? Would it be racist if you said Oriental people are loud? Yes, because you're judging an entire race off of one particular person or 1 or 2 people. You are making blanket statements. Anybody who makes a blanket statement concerning race is a racist. Now, I'm sorry. This whole movement of theirs I find sad. The very idea that you're telling people that white is one thing, black is another. You're eliminating individuality. You're making things oppressive to a particular group. And we see this in our next article. The next article I want to bring you comes from the Epoch Times. It says a Smith College staffer resigns over alleged anti-white bias. A female employee at Smith College has resigned, accusing the elite women's university of creating a racially hostile environment against white people. I happen to believe her. I'm sorry. In this day and age, it's okay to be racially hostile towards whites. There's a line in here. Let's see, scroll down. There it is. I endured meetings in which another staff member violently banged his fist on the table, chanting, rich white women, in reference to some of the alumni. I listened to my supervisor openly name preferred racial quotas for the job openings in our department. I was given a supplemental literature in which the world's population was broken down into population was reduced to 2 categories, dominant group member and subordinate group member, based solely on characteristics like race. She goes on to state that basically that she was told to do things based purely off the race of the people that were involved. Man, Martin Luther King must be rolling over his grave. The whole idea that we would be based on our character, not our race, is gone. Now everything is based on race. You have the government deciding who's going to get the new virus based on race. You have government deciding who's going to get more money based on race. Race, race, race. You know, every time you raise these issues, you get told, well, you're just upset because it's picking on white people now. No, I'm upset because what's going to happen. If you proceed to tell a group of people that they don't deserve anything other than disdain and hate, they tend to band together. We saw this during the Obama administration, where people got fed up, totally fed up, with being accused of being racist simply because they didn't agree with the great Barack Obama. We saw a society where the mainstream treated Barack Obama just shy of being the Messiah. He could have walked on water, and according to the way they treated him. Why? Because he was the first black president. I don't care what color your skin is, and even that's being considered racist now. You're being told that anybody who says that they don't look at race is a racist. Because apparently that's the sole defining characteristic of anybody is their race. I grew up as a military brat. For those of you that don't understand that sentence, it means my father was in the military. And often I would live on military posts. When you live on a military post, the military has a tendency to be very colorblind. Or it did back then. Which meant that as we lived there, who your new neighbors would be, you had no control over. I could have a black person, I could have a Filipino, I could have somebody from the South, somebody from the North, a Jew, a Christian, a Muslim. It didn't matter. Your neighbors were up to the luck of the draw. Sometimes you got good neighbors, sometimes you got bad neighbors. And you know what I learned over those years? Race doesn't mean nothing. I don't care what a person's skin color is. If you tell them they're scum, and that the only reason they're scum is because of their skin color, they're going to get upset. And they start banding together. And we start getting reactions in society. Right now, the mainstream media wants you to believe that the United States is just chock full of white supremacists. Because anybody who opposes tearing down statues, white supremacist. Anybody who disagrees with anything that President Obama said, white supremacist. Basically, what they're painting out now is anybody who voted for Donald Trump, obviously a white supremacist. 75 million people are being labeled as white supremacists or racists. Why? Because that's what they label anybody who disagrees with them. That are misogynists. Because obviously, you don't like women if you happen to disagree with, say, Kamala Harris or Nancy Pelosi. Look, I think Nancy Pelosi is one of the most vile creatures to walk the face of the earth. This is a woman who basically admitted she screwed over the American people just to keep Donald Trump from having anything good to say before the election. This is not good. Well, the problem is it's getting worse. But now I want to take you real quickly, go back almost 6 months or so. We got a listing of what it meant to be white. A white person believes in rugged individualism, that the individual is the primary unit. They believe in self-reliance. Independence and autonomy are highly valued and rewarded. Individuals assumed to be in control of their environment. You get what you deserve. Now, if this is white, what is black? Now, I want you to, as I'm listing these things, think about what you're saying about black people or about other minorities. That they don't believe in the individual, that they're all collectivists, that they don't believe in being self-reliant, they believe in being dependent, they don't support independence and autonomy. Let's go on. The nuclear family, the father, the mother, and 2.3 children is the ideal social unit. That is an aspect of, quote, white culture. The husband is the breadwinner and the head of the household. The wife is a homemaker and subordinate to the husband. Children should have homerooms and be independent. Okay, let's stop a second. The idea that the nuclear family, mother, father, and 2.3 children is an ideal social unit. Okay, maybe that is a white view. But the idea of mother, father, and children is a universal view. Do not blacks have mothers and fathers? Do not browns have mothers and fathers? Do not Arabs have mothers and fathers? Do they not have brothers and sisters? The amount of children, if that's going to make your issue, well, that depends on each country you're in. If you're in China, guess what? One child. The idea the wife is the homemaker and subordinate to the husband, well, that's a worldwide dominant viewpoint. I may not personally agree with, but still, it's a view that's found culturally all around the world. Let's go on. Emphasis on the scientific method is considered to be white. Objective, rational, linear thinking, the idea of cause and effect relationships, quantitative emphasis, all of these things are whiteness. What does this mean black people are? That they don't believe in objective, rational thought? They don't believe the scientific method? They just want random occurrences? I'm getting a little confused here, because personally what I'm seeing is you're painting black people and minorities to be pretty damn stupid. Okay, history based on Northern European immigrants' experience in the United States. The United States was founded by these Northern European immigrants. And what else should you base it on? History focused on the British Empire. Well, let's see. In the United States, if we're going to do our history, the history of the dominant culture in this country, which is based on white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, then yeah, the British Empire would be pretty darn important. We did not immigrate here. The founding fathers of this country did not come from Africa. Therefore, if we're going to do the history of this country, we would you go to your founding fathers and you do the history of where they came from, and then you progress backwards from there. The idea that we should suddenly promote the history of another culture, why? Did it change us? Did it impact us? If they find a small tribe living in the south of Burma, should we do its history instead of the history of this country and what made us the way we are today? See, this is getting to where you look at it, you're like, this is getting stupid. Now, this is the next one that I find so insulting to all the minorities. Because according to this, the Protestant work ethic, or the idea hard work is the key to success, you work before you play, and if you don't meet your goals, you didn't work hard enough, is all an example of whiteness. So let's take the opposite. Hard work is not the key to success, is apparently a minority view. That you should play before you work is a minority view. That if you didn't meet your goals, it wasn't because you didn't work hard enough. You know, all of these things start painting, when you look at the opposites of what they're condemning, you're supporting laziness, you're supporting divisiveness, you're supporting no rational thought. I'm sorry, if I were black, I would be insulted. I would find this listing to be the most insulting thing I have ever read. Let's see if they give us any others on this listing here. Religion, Christianity, anything other than a Judeo-Christian tradition is foreign. No tolerance for deviation from a single God concept. The United States was founded by Christians who then take a lot of what they have from Judaism. I agree. The idea that historically this nation has not been very tolerant of outside religions. I agree. Is that right? No, I'll agree that's wrong. Status and power and its authority. The wealth equals worth. Your job is who you are. Respect authority. Heavy value on ownership of goods, space, and property. Well, yeah, I'll agree that's part of the society, but is that a white view only? Are we saying that people that live in China don't respect wealth, don't respect authority? Trust me, you either respect authority in China or you're liable to get shot. So who is it that doesn't respect authority? I'd like to know. If you have no respect for authority, then they're not in authority anymore. They're the enemy. That your wealth is who you are, well, I agree that seems to come out as a dominant feature of American culture. That your job is who you are, your money is what you're worth. Yeah, that's an American culture. That's a Western viewpoint, I agree. But it's also seen in other cultures. You see it in China, you see it in Japan, you see it worldwide. Do I think it's right? No. I think you are more than what your job is. You should be more. So, okay. Oh, this next two areas are funny to me. That the idea that planning for the future, that you work now so that you can enjoy later, that progress is always best, and that tomorrow will be better, is an aspect of whiteness. And it sounds to me like they're saying the grasshopper is getting mad because they're being insulted by the ants. And they're not being insulted by them by what they're saying. They're not saying the grasshoppers are lazy. They're saying the grasshoppers didn't plan for tomorrow. If you don't plan for your future, no one's going to do it for you. I'm sorry, the very idea that you claiming this is whiteness is stupid. Because what you're basically saying is that black people think that you shouldn't plan for your future, that you should not do the work now so that you can enjoy yourself later, that progress is not good, and that tomorrow will be horrible. Well, okay, the last one, in the United States, I'd say that tomorrow is going to be horrible. I don't care what color your skin is. Tomorrow is not better. We've stopped seeing tomorrow be better for a long time now. We'd like tomorrow to be better, but it isn't happening. Now the last section. If you look at time as a rigid schedule, or following rigid time schedules, you're white. Time used as a commodity, how you spend your time, meaning what you spend your time on. Well, if you don't spend your time on something, then it's not important to you. It is your time. See, all of this is so confusing to me, because why would anybody want to have somebody tell them they're the opposite of this? Okay, I can see saying that, telling you that society has too much emphasis on some things. But to sit there and basically say that this is an aspect of whiteness, oh Lord, how much are you insulting all the other minorities? And we see this every day coming from the left. Minorities are too stupid to go on the internet to find out where they can get their vaccines. Minorities are too stupid to register to vote. Minorities are too stupid. And you want to call me the racist? Because I think minorities are not stupid? In case you're wondering, folks, Publius is a minority. I'm not going to tell you what race I come from. Why? Because I wasn't raised to look at that. My father didn't go around telling everybody he was an African American, a Mexican American, a Jewish American. He went around telling everybody he was an American. He served in the U.S. military to defend this country. Not to defend a certain color of this country, but to defend the entire country. Yes, Publius comes from a culture that there is another language. But guess what? Publius doesn't say you have to learn that language. Publius says the language in the United States is English. Why? Because Publius has been overseas. The idea that we're telling people not to learn English is stupid, considering most everybody else in the world is teaching their kids they need to learn English, along with whatever their dominant cultural language is. You don't like the way things were, I get it. The U.S. has got a bad past, just like every other country in the world. Were blacks given a raw deal? Yes. But you know the difference between blacks and Indians? Whites didn't massacre blacks, whereas the whites did massacre quite a few Indians. But that's okay, because Indians massacred Indians too. You know, if you're going to sit there and play the victim card, do a little research. Every race has attacked every other race and killed a bunch of them. If you're going to do tit for tat, guess what? All you get is a lot of people that are hurt. An eye for an eye leads to a blind world. And Publius is sitting back seeing this stupidity. That's what it is. Flat out stupidity. That you would want to insult yourself to say that you don't believe in rational thought. That you don't believe you should get what you work for. That's stupidity. And Publius says the idea that you're going to push a race war is stupid. Why is it stupid? Because, number one, the numbers are not good for you. Remember, 50% of the United States is still is roughly white. That means that if you get all the minorities together, you have an equal footing. But you're not going to get all the minorities. A lot of Hispanics do not agree with a lot of with aspects of the black culture. Why? Because they have their own culture. They have their own history. They have their own viewpoints. You're telling people that you can pick and choose the culture that is good, meaning that the other cultures are bad. No. You're telling people that just purely by the color of their skin, they're evil. No. You keep this up, and the results are going to be very, very catastrophic. When blacks start shooting whites, and whites start shooting blacks, what you're going to have is a lot of dead people. Now, no, not all blacks believe this crap. Just like not all whites. But if you make people your enemy, you're going to have enemies. If you sit there and say that all whites are evil, eventually all whites are going to get tired of this. Or even a large enough group of them to where you're going to force people to take a side, and that is not what you want to do. I mean, I was just talking a little bit ago about how stupid this listing of things were. One of the things that, I mean, cause and effect. If you don't believe in cause and effect, you know what happens? You die. If you don't believe, I mean, some of these things are just basic reality. If you do not eat, guess what? You die. Okay, how do you get food? If you do not go out to the grocery store to buy food, you die. Or you better know how to grow food. I mean, cause and effect. Rational thought. A plus B equals C. Some of these things are just basically universal truisms. If you do not understand physics or how to build something stable, your house crumbles. If you do not understand not to build on shaky ground, your house crumbles. No house, no shelter. I mean, it's asinine. It really, really, really is. And when you start making people and telling people that if you believe this, you're a racist, guess what? They're going to start saying, fine, I'm a racist. So the racists who tell people that they're too stupid to know how to get a driver's license or an ID, and too stupid to know how to think, are also the same people that are telling the other people that you're all racist because you don't agree with us. No, a race war is not a good war. Not that there is any really a good war, but this is not going to be good. Those mindsets that people talk about, city life versus rural life, are going to hurt you. If your gang believes that a drive-by shooting shows you how big and bad you are, well, you're going against a society that believes one shot, one kill. Can't afford to waste bullets. And they do this because they want to eat. It's not going to be good. You're starting a war that no side is really going to come out winning well. You're going to have a loser and a worse loser. And who's going to lose the worst? The American people. It's like this last election. Trump versus Biden. There was no winner on the ballot. The only one guaranteed to lose in this was the American people. It's just how many of us were going to get screwed was the question. Well, now we've answered the question, and we're going to pay. Oh, well. All of you racists out there, you have the right to say what you believe, but you don't have the right to force other people to accept it. And I, for one, am not going to accept it. I refuse to judge a person based on their skin color. Just as I refuse to judge you based on your biology, whether you're a man or a woman. Don't care. I don't care about any of the things that the left is trying to tell me is so important. What I care about is your character, who you are, how you behave, how you treat others. And if that is not the most important thing to you, then you're screwed up. If you think that the color of a person's skin can tell you whether they're good or bad, you're screwed up. And Publius says, when the bullet starts flying, I hope the idiots who believe this crap are the ones that get shot first. Because they deserve it. They're pushing for this crap. When somebody has to pay, I hope it's them. But sadly, Publius knows it won't be them. Those people never do the dying if they can help it. They send other people to die for them. Oh well. This has been Countdown to Armageddon. I am, as you may have guessed, Publius. If you like this show, and you agree or disagree, please send me comments. I may or may not actually agree with them, read them, may even respond to them. If I start getting enough comments, I might have an episode where I simply look at the comments of the people out there. But remember, this is my show, so my opinion wins. If you enjoyed this show, please hit the like button, share it with your friends, share it with your neighbors, send it to your enemies. If you're a left-wing nut job, send it to your enemies. They'll agree with me. You look like an idiot. Subscribe to this show if you enjoy the show, because only through your subscriptions will I be able to stick around. If you want to donate to the show, click that button on top of the page and donate through the platform. I would appreciate anything. This has been another episode of Counting Down to Armageddon, and I want to thank you all for joining me.